It's so easy to get fixated on the idea that who we are right now and who we've been in the past is exactly who we will continue to be in the future as well. But what if I told you that that doesn't have to be true at all? I mean, other than if you really choose to not change in any way and in any under any circumstances, then yes. But change is inevitable, and people that can harness change to work in their advantage are the ones who truly get to live the lives that they want to live. But a lot of us have the mindset that, we are pre made, as in everything in our life is predetermined, and that whatever we're like right now is, we were destined to be this way. You'll hear a lot of people say, oh, but I've always been like this, and I've always been awkward, and I've always been too dependent on other people and what they say, and I'm just too shy and I'm just too awkward. But the thing is, you can always choose to become a different person. You can always choose to become a different version of yourself. You can always choose to live a different kind of life. And I can tell you this because I have done it myself. In the past, I used to think that like I was just the way I was and that I didn't have the options to change and that my life was always going to remain the same and that, other people in my life had more control over my life than I did. But obviously, that was not true. And when I realized that, I started actually taking charge and control of my life. And I realized that the things that were hurting me and the things that I didn't like in my life, I could change. I can change the people that surround me. I can change the way I feel. I can change the situations and the circumstances that are making me feel bad. So I can change those things. Yes, in life, there are things that you can't change right now. But, most of the times, a lot of things that we don't like, we can change in our lives. And so that's what I started to do. I started to change the things that I didn't like in my life. I thought that I was always going to be a shy person. I thought I was always going to feel very anxious to talk to other people or to do the things that I really wanted to do. Or I thought that I would like never feel calm and just, feel good within myself. But, I realized that I can change those things. And it's when you realize that you have more power over your lives than you think. And that whatever you've been like in the past or whatever you are now, it doesn't have to be this way. Just because this is all we know right now and this is all we know how to be. So, for example, I only knew how to really be anxious and I only knew how to really not feel calm within myself. But that doesn't mean that I couldn't change those things. And it's because when I realized, oh, actually, wait, I can change that. Just because that's the kind of life I've lived so far doesn't mean that it has to continue this way and it has to be like this. I can take power and I can change those things. And so started doing that because just because you've known something all your life doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You can know a different reality, you can live a different reality, and you can be a different kind of person. Because you can decide who you want to be and how you want to be and how you want to show up in your life. At any given point in your life, at any moment, on any day, right now, you can choose who you want to be and how you want to be and what kind of version do you want to show up as. Because it's when I decided that, like, actually, I don't want to live this kind of life anymore. I don't want to be this kind of person anymore. And actually, I want to start changing and I want to start growing. That's when I really started unlocking, the person that I want to become. Because before, I would just think, oh, I want to be, this kind of a person and I want to be this kind of a woman. I want to be confident and I want to be successful and I want to be whatever it is that I want to be. And I thought it would just happen one day. Like, I was just like waiting and I was like, oh, it'll happen in the future and I want to be like this in the future. But if you want to be a specific way in the future, if you want to live a specific life in the future or show up as a specific version of yourself or be a different person, different kind of person, then you need to start right now. You need to start today. You need to start as soon as possible because, you won't magically just turn into a better version of yourself or the kind of person you want to become or start living the kind of life you want. You have to start today. You have to start like as soon as possible so that, gradually you start becoming that person until that person isn't just a dream or desire that you have. That person is you, okay? Like, it will happen gradually and one day you won't be thinking, oh, I want to be that kind of a person in the future because you already will be that person in the moment. and you'll look back and you'll think, oh wow, you know, like I'm actually the kind of woman I wanted to become. I'm the kind of person that my younger self, that myself in the past thought that I wanted to be. I am that person now. And to really start showing up as the kind of woman and the kind of person that I want to become, I've been asking myself this question on like a regular basis, you know, with like anything that happens or anything that comes up, or like, you know, on a daily basis. I ask myself, you know, is this how the kind of person, the kind of woman that I want to become, is this how she would react to this situation? You know, let's say like something happens, you know, I fail an exam or something, and I'm like, how would she react, you know, in this situation? How would the highest and the best version of myself react? How would the version of myself that I'm trying to become, what would she say in this situation? What would she do in this situation? How would she react? You know, how would she act? How would she show up in her life? Or, you know, on days that you're not feeling very great. Like, for example, yesterday I wasn't feeling very great. And, you know, I asked myself, I was like, okay, but I have this thing to do. You know, would the highest and the best version of myself, would she do it? Or would she just, you know, be like, oh, I'm too tired, I'm not going to do it today? Or, you know, how would she act and how would she show up? And then you have to like start aligning your actions, your words, habits, everything to how the highest and the best version of yourself that you imagine would. So, you know, instead of just doing what you do and doing what you have been doing, because if we continue acting in the same ways that we have, you know, if we keep doing the same things that we have in the future or that we just are doing in the past, we're going to keep getting the same results. You can't expect different results. You can't expect to live a different life. You can't expect to be a different person if you keep doing the things that you've been doing. To get different outcomes, we need to start doing things differently. We need to start saying things, different things, start being around different people, you know, start watching different kinds of content. Like, to get different results, we need to do things differently. Because we have all the power within ourselves to change our lives, to change ourselves, and to become the person that we truly want to become and live the life that we truly want to live. You know, and none of us came pre-made or predetermined or were destined to be awkward or shy or not confident or not be able to speak up for ourselves or to not reach our full potential, you know. None of us were, you know, born on this earth and put on this earth to not be successful and to not, you know, achieve our dreams and our desires and reach our goals and feel happy. None of us were put on this earth to be upset or to be unhappy and to not be able to achieve the things that we want, okay? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it so far, then comment a blue heart in the comments down below. And I also have TikTok, so go follow me on my TikTok as well. I'll drop it down in the description. And let me know what were your thoughts on this video. You know, what do you think about, you know, becoming who you are and versus who you were in the past? You know, how are you going along on your journey? Let me know in the comments. Let's chat. Thank you so much for watching this video again, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Mwah.